Here's some flea market finds I found today, October 19th, 2019. I'm going to start making videos of this to show other people what they may find. This is from one vendor, one table. I found this can unique. It's a cutting oil. Penetrating, lubrication, and cools. Funny thing about it, this is still 100% filled. I cleaned this up. The top had all, I guess, decades, if not more, of dirty grease on top. I took some hand cleaner and a toothbrush, cleaned it all up, cleaned up the sides and the surface of the label. And I found a perfect handle flat screwdriver, a little mini version, or I guess this is one of their smaller ones that a manufacturer made. The wooden scales are actually peened over at the bottom and the top to hold in the scale. Still straight in both directions, which they never are. And just a little bit of wear on the top where it might have been banged in, and the tip has to be restored, straightened out, and this will be restored. One of my youngest sons found this on the same table. These are two small railroad spikes. They're only about 3 3/4 in length. He told me he wants to restore these, which I'll help him do. This whole lot, it was $8. I thought it was a good price. I think that this alone was worth the asking price. Here is one of I restored a couple of years ago. It's a little over 13 inches. And you can see, I guess, his little baby brother. I have two others that need to be restored. They're roughly 9 inches. They both need new wood scales. But I thought that this was worth the asking price of $8 alone. These, I've never seen this small. I've seen quite a bit of these. It's amazing that we take this for granted. Most stoves, or all stoves nowadays, come with some kind of timer on it. This is still original. It is a Model D form VS12. It's currently set for 115 volts, 60 cycles, but it can be set for 250 volts. And it has all the instructions on how to operate it. It's complete with the original cloth cord and plug. The glass is in pretty much pristine condition. No scratches, no damage, and no damage to the case. It even still has the original felt pads. This one's definitely a keeper. I will media blast it and possibly powder coat it once I decide on what color. If this is the vintage color, I will keep it as the vintage color. I like stuff like that. I will most likely nickel plate, replate these in nickel, including the back plate, new cord, and install a new plug so it can accept a standard wall outlet, so I can just run this as a clock. This, $8. I thought this is a little gem to keep and restore. Second find at the same flea market. This is a Vaseline jar, white petroleum jelly. It's made in Cheeseboro, New York, so I'm assuming that's Manhattan. 4 ounces. It was a little dingy when I got it. Cleaned it up with some hand cleaner and a toothbrush. The labeling is still good. It's amazing I found something like this still in good condition. And the good part about it, still has Vaseline in it. It's a little hard, well, a little stiffer. Not that I'm going to use it, but that was amazing to find. The lid still has the original price of 25 cents on there. Imagine that. And on the same table, a Distin handsaw. Pretty much in great condition. Nice and straight. The teeth are not beat up. They're still pretty much uniform, even though I will dress these up, clean this up. I dated it based on the medallion that's on there. It has a brass fasteners here. Based on that medallion, this particular model was made between 1876 and 1886. So this makes this saw about 140 years old. Only issue this has is the top horn. It's just a little beat up here, which is typical on these type of hand saws. It's the same profile as it is on the bottom. So I'm going to try to find some hardwood, some rosewood, and try to patch that in, shape it. The handle itself is still in great condition as far as no damage. It just has a lot of dings and dents, wear, and some of the finish is gone. So I may bring this down to bare wood and refinish it along with the rest of it. And this will be a keeper, and I will use it. And I can't wait to restore this one. This was $4. The guy was asking $5. Knocked him down to $4. This is excellent. I've been collecting these and restoring them and using them. We use them all the time. I have an 8-inch version. That one has no name brand on it. And then I have one that I purchased a few weeks ago. It's more like a larger pot with the lid and a handle. Purchased that one for $20. Again, filthy, cleaned it up, and we use it. And that one is a Wagnerware. Maybe I'll show it in another video. But $4, you can't beat this. This will probably last my generation and the next, and the next. This was towards the end of the flea market. Usually we start in the back, work our way forward, and at the end it's the open area. This is from a vendor there, a table. I've never seen the guy. He had a lot of interesting stuff, mostly vintage. But the three things that caught my eye was this little lot. I got this entire lot for $8. He was asking $10. I always knock people down. This is a vintage wall switch. It's made by, I believe, it looks like it says Perclay. Perking. On off. It has porcelain backing. The wires were going through here, and this would get mounted on the wall with the exposed wires running into it, or wire, and it would probably control the light. This isn't, I haven't opened it up. It's a little banged up. This one I may resell to recoup some of my money. I usually try to do that. I have a similar one that I purchased. This one was an eBay purchase, and this one I like because it does have the on-off indicator, same form factor, and this is for a future project I have planned for. And the same lot, I saw this. Yep, that's what it says on there. FAG, F-A-G. And what it is, it's from the FAG Bearing Company. I believe they are still around. However, they are merged with another company, and this is a promotional keychain. This looks like it's never been used. It doesn't have any wear on it. The mechanism on it has a little locking device so you can open it and keep it locked. The amazing part about this is that it actually has a bearing on it. I'm assuming it's one of their own bearings, and this thing runs smooth as all hell. And like I said, this looks like it was never used. I had to have this. This is a keeper. And the third item in that table was this. This is made by the company, if I can find it, Shelton Tools. Made in the US, patent pending. It's one of these like multi-tools. I forget what they call it. These came individually in boxes and as kits. And what it is, at first I didn't know what it was. It's actually flat screwdrivers. Actually 4 of them. You choose one. Push it in. And there's your screwdriver. I think this had very little use because based on the handle, the plastic, I think it has a lot more shelf wear. There's no scratches or dings. It has a little bit of patina. That's what you want to call it on the knurling. The knurling is excellent on this. Some of these screwdriver tips, like this one, it's hardly used. The only one I found some use on was the last and second to last ones have a very faint use on it. There is no damage to it. Like I said, I got this entire lot for $8. This one is as much as I like it, I may put this on eBay along with this. But this one's definitely a keeper. This stuff is fabulous. The last item that I got today, and this wasn't actually at the flea market. On the way home, there was all these signs, warehouse sale. I forgot what the other word they used, but punched in the address on Google Maps. It was on the way home, just a few minutes, and it was a warehouse with this guy, had a couple employees with all this stuff in it, more like a kind of antique. Yes, a lot of it was junk. And I was ready to walk out, so let me do another walkthrough. And buried underneath about a dozen meat grinders of all sorts of shapes and sizes and vintage, I found this. The guy wanted $5 for it. I took it. And what it is, it has a patent date of December 31st, 1895, I believe. 1895. Doing some research, these were like early 1900s to 1910s. This is well over 100 years old. What it is made by the Acme Staple Company, which they're still around today, making staplers, made in the US, and it's called this particular model, it's called the midget one, and it's a stapler that you would staple papers. Here, the only thing that's missing is this little adjustment kind of thing here that you can adjust it back and forth to set where you want the staple on the edge of the paper. It currently has a staple in there that's jammed. That's why it won't go down all the way. Everything is screwed in. It's I believe some kind of cast iron or cast steel, nickel plated from what I can tell so far, and from what I've done the research, I've seen a few of these nickel plated. This one is a keeper. I'm going to restore it, completely disassemble it, clean it up, remove that jammed staple in there, media blast it, and chrome plate the entire thing and display it. Now I'm in the search for the staples that go in right there. So if I can find a vintage box, I'll purchase it. But for $5, I thought that this was amazing. Amazing find. It has, I guess, the company name who last used it, GBA Ace. Maybe Ace Hardware. Also, I have a few items that in the last few weeks I've picked up at the first flea market. This is a restored vintage. I think this is a Shelton Tools again. It's model 616 for a 6-inch needle nose. It wasn't too badly damaged. Matter of fact, there's still oil coming out of it. I think this was black and it had the black finish, like on the interior. Very little surface pitting on it. I took this to the I love the embellishing that they have on the side here on these older pliers, similar to this style or this form factor. This, I believe, is a one made in Germany, and no damage. The cutters are about 80% there. The cutter near the bottom and the top, it doesn't cut too well, but in the center, perfect. I took this on the Scotch-Brite, and then the 1x30 sander to clean all this up, and then on Scotch-Brite again to blend it and give it its final look. I like the kind of, not the high polish what some people do and where they put it on the buffer. This is still a user. And then I put it in for 24 hours in BP Blaster penetrating oil, and that's why it's still, oil is coming out of the center, and the sides is basically the little bit of debris that's still in there, or rust. It'll keep draining out over time as you use it. This is keep. What I love about this pair is that the teeth on here are, I don't know what they call it, but the way it's machined, they're actually mated into each other, and the teeth on this are in great condition, no damage. This, I'm still debating if I'm going to keep it or not, but I think it's a keeper. I may not come across another one like this, so I usually try to keep the ones. Anything I find similar or a duplicate, I will resell. And the other thing I found, this was a few weeks ago, this one. What I found, last week, I only found one item, but I thought it was very cool. This was a little pricey. Yeah, it's a Union box. I'm assuming by the font this might be I don't know, 50s, 60s, 70s maybe. The Union has been making cases like this in similar sizes for a long time, and it's still in good condition. It just has a lot of wear, rust. Somebody did take out the tray that was inside. However, what I purchased this for was for this. This is, let's say, an original, but Original Black & Decker drill. From what I can date it, it has patent pending 1917 and either 24, looks like 1924. And it has a brass plate there for repairs and what city to take it into. This is brass. The patents on this was, I think Black & Decker either came into becoming a company or had this patent in the early 1910s. I believe that's when they became a company. So this is one of their first electric drills for the mass market. They also made this version in a much more heavier duty. This is a 1/4-inch version. The shaft has a slight bend. The chuck, it's in the box. Chuck key is still here. It does run. I did plug it in, even though this needs to be replaced. It's either on or off. And the neat thing about it is that it has a little indicator. When that arrow is horizontal or pointing to on and on, it's on. When it's pointing up, it's off. I find this stuff amazing. It's pretty much intact. The inserts for the bushings, not the bushings, I forgot, can't think of it now. They're a little damaged, so I'll have to address that. Overall, it's in good condition, just dirty, grime. I don't see any damage besides those two caps. It even has a grease plug here. You can pack the shaft with grease. This will be restored. Again, I'm not going to polish this. I may just put a glass bead in the media blaster and bring it back to its kind of original finish. Clean everything up. Pull these off. Clean them up. Paint these. New cord with original vintage, I guess 2-prong instead of the 3-prong ground. Even though this was at one point upgraded. Let's see if I can find the strain relief or a strain relief. Like I said, this was a little pricey for me, but $40. I'm going to try to restore the union box even without the tray, because this is kind of hefty. I've been looking at other boxes, but they don't quite fit it. Felt the bottom and restore this as a keeper for display. And I will just straighten out the shaft once I take it apart. I almost forgot about this one. This is an 8-inch crescent pliers, made in the US, forged from Crestolloy steel. I have another one somewhere that I found in a ceiling. Actually, same style. I can't read the model number on this right now. It looks like a 3-1 something 100. But this one is one I found many years ago. Same size. Yeah, this is Model 1 EC. However, this one's pretty much beat up. The jaws on it have been, they're peened over. It can still be restored. I may restore it. But this one today, got this for $4. I don't know if it's pricey or not, but I thought it was cool. It still has the arrow. It shows you in the direction you should use it if you're looking at it this way to tighten, and counterclockwise to loosen, which is a big debate nowadays. This was pretty much in good condition as is. It was knurling was adjustment was working fine. It had a little bit of surface rust and patina on there, which I took to the Scotch-Brite wheel. As you can see, jaws are in perfect condition. And it still closes parallel as far as the jaws go. I usually, like I said, I will put stuff for 24 hours in PB Blaster penetrating oil. I had this for a couple of hours just to flush out any debris that was in there, rust. I just took it out, so there's still oil coming out of it. But this is a finished product. I will hang it up with my many other pipe wrenches, or adjustable wrenches, I'm sorry. Oh, that's it for my finds today. I'll try to show some of the other ones that I found in the last month at the same flea market in probably another video once I get them together, figure out what's what. And thank you for watching. Enjoy. But wait, there's more. Net find that day. This was actually the first item that we picked up. One of my boys saw this. He said we needed it for our retro or vintage NES from the 80s. Unfortunately, you can't use these anymore. This is 1985 Nintendo Zapper. And this one was in good condition, $3. I think was great. Unfortunately, you can't use these anymore because of the new televisions or flat screens. These work on the old tube TVs, but we purchased it to go with our vintage 1980s Nintendo NES that we're going to be kind of converting it with a Raspberry Pi to play some arcade games. So that was actually the first item, but I forgot about this. Here's a couple other finds on previous trips. And this was roughly about 3 weeks ago. It's a 12-inch Claws model 3752. It had some staining. I just kind of polished it up, sharpened it, and $1. These are still selling for about $55 online. For everyday use around the house. And then that was about a month ago. A couple weeks ago, I picked up another one. Again, this is roughly $1. This is a smaller one. I think this is like an 8-inch. This one was a 10 or 12. And this is from the company Campton, or USET Campton. You actually tighten or loosen the screw to get more of a bite, or depending what you're doing, you know, either looser or a little tighter. Actually, I haven't touched this yet, and this one cuts as is. It needs to be cleaned up. I may restore this one. I'm not sure yet. I may just buff it out. And this is model 88U10. This is a 10-inch. These are 12-inch. I may just remove the rust, sharpen it, buff it out as best, and call it a day. These are users for every day for around the house here. But for $1 each, you can't go wrong. Anyhow, Finally. Thank you and enjoy.